I don't usually leave reviews, but what happened in that Airbnb last summer still keeps me up some nights. The host was polite, the place looked clean, but there was something wrong about that basement door. And the sound I heard behind it still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. Last July, I took a solo trip to Virginia for a small photography project. I booked an Airbnb in a quiet neighborhood just outside of Charlottesville, an old two-story house with a big porch and ivy creeping up the walls. The pictures looked normal, cozy lighting, a rustic kitchen, hardwood floors. The reviews were all 5 stars, except for one that just said, "Nice place, but weird energy at night." I laughed it off. I've stayed in older homes before, creaky floors, and weird sounds don't bother me much. The host, a man named David, met me at check-in. He was in his late 40s, quiet, friendly, in that polite but distant way. He handed me the keys, told me to text if I needed anything, and left. The place was spotless. A little too spotless, actually, like no one had lived there for a long time. Everything smelled faintly like bleach and old wood. There was one thing I noticed right away, though, a heavy wooden door at the end of the hallway, just past the kitchen. It had a new padlock on it. I figured it was a basement, probably where the owner kept cleaning supplies or personal stuff. But something about the way it was locked from the outside felt strange. The first night was fine. I unpacked, made dinner, watched a movie, and went to bed around midnight. Around 2 a.m., I woke up. Not sure why, just that something had pulled me out of sleep. It was silent, but then I heard it, a faint thump coming from downstairs. Then another. Old houses make noises, I told myself. Probably pipes or the AC. But these weren't mechanical sounds. They were uneven, like footsteps. I sat there in bed, staring at the ceiling, counting the seconds between each noise. They didn't stop. Just soft, deliberate thuds that seemed to move slowly across the first floor. I grabbed my phone and crept down the stairs, heart pounding. I didn't see anyone. The living room was empty. The kitchen light was still off. Then I noticed the sound again, softer now, coming from behind the locked door. It was like someone shifting their weight, moving around down there. I froze. My first thought was that maybe David had a tenant or something, but he hadn't mentioned anyone else living there. I texted him, "Hey, just checking. Is someone staying in the basement?" No reply. I waited maybe 10 minutes before going back upstairs, trying to convince myself it didn't matter. But I barely slept the rest of the night. The next morning, I decided to bring it up when David stopped by. He was dropping off extra towels. When I asked about the basement, his expression changed for just a split second, like I'd said something I wasn't supposed to. He smiled, but it was the kind of smile people use when they're hiding something. "Oh, that's just storage," he said. "The house is old. Makes weird noises sometimes. Don't worry about it." I nodded, pretending to accept that, but my gut told me something was off. That night, I double-checked that all the doors were locked. Around midnight, I heard it again. This time, it wasn't just thumping. It was a voice. Faint, low, muffled. It sounded like a woman whispering, but I couldn't make out the words. I sat there, frozen on the couch, my eyes locked on that door. The whispering stopped. Then, a soft knock came from the other side. Just one. I didn't sleep at all. The next morning, I decided to leave. I packed up early and texted David, saying I had to cut the trip short. He didn't reply right away. As I carried my bag to the front door, I noticed something strange. The padlock on the basement door was unlocked. The hasp was open, just hanging there. I don't know what came over me. Curiosity? Fear? Whatever it was, I stepped closer and pressed my ear to the door. Silence. Then a breath, like someone exhaling right behind the wood. I jumped back, so fast I hit the wall. The sound wasn't faint or far away. It was right there, inches from my ear. The floorboards creaked from behind the door, and something heavy shifted closer. Before I could move, my phone buzzed. It was a text from David. "Hey, sorry I missed your message. Please don't open the basement door." That was it. No explanation. I grabbed my bag and left. 2 days later, I got a refund notification from Airbnb. Full refund, which almost never happens. I went back to the listing just out of curiosity. It was gone. Deleted. I looked up the address on Google Maps a few weeks later. and what I found made me feel sick. The house was listed under a different name, and the reviews were turned off. But on one of the street view photos, taken months earlier, I could see something small that I hadn't noticed before. A woman's face, peeking from the basement window. And she wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking up toward the front door, right where I had been standing that morning. Have you ever stayed somewhere that didn't feel right? I'd really like to hear if something similar's ever happened to you. Share your story down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this one, make sure to subscribe for more true horror stories. Thanks for listening, and maybe double-check the locks tonight.